Hello, so this guide is going to focus on Bedman's Error 6E mechanic. I'll cover a few main topics. I'll explain what Error 6E is and explain some of the basic rules of how it functions. I'll then go over each variety of error follow-up along with how to utilize these errors to your ability. I'll then cover error looping and the nuances of error looping. There's a lot to talk about and your time is valuable. Let's begin. What is Error 6E? Error 6E, or Errors for short, is Bedman's unique trait. When he does any of his three main specials, he queues up a follow-up. The follow-up will come out regardless of what Bedman is doing after a duration. His needle attack will automatically fire up a follow-up laser. His spin attack will automatically create a chain explosion. His malfunction attack will automatically drop a bomb. 3 unique error follow-ups for 3 of his specials. Now, there are 2 simple rules that you must know regarding errors. Number 1, if Bedman blocks, takes damage, or gets in a throw tech situation, regardless if he's the one initiating the throw or the one teching it, the error goes away. If the error is about to start up, however, it can only be interrupted if Bedman is hit or put in a throw tech situation. It's possible for him to block at this point and the hitbox of the error is still persistent. Also, the direction of which the error fires is based on which direction that Bedman is facing. It also goes without saying that if Bedman loses his error, he has to do another special attack to ready up a new one. Number 2, Bedman can only hold one error follow-up at a time. Doing specials over and over will rewrite the prior error with a brand new timer. It's possible, however, to do a special right when the error is about to come out. This will have the error appearing and Bedman will immediately queue up a new one. I call this error chaining and is crucial in a lot of Bedman's pressure. The call specials. Bedman has 2 auxiliary special attacks that affect the error that he has stored. One is called 0x 20 cents and the other is called 0x $1. I really hate these names. 0x20 cents has Bedman playing out a short animation to activate the error that he currently has stored. I refer to this special as his manual cash out. The manual cash out is very important because you can't always rely on his arrows to auto-fire during a neutral game. If you want to immediately access the error for the many reasons that you will need to, the manual cash out is useful for that purpose. 0x $1 has Bedman playing out a shorter animation than his manual cash out to reset the timer on the stored error. I refer to this special as his timer reset. It's possible to perpetually hold onto your error by doing this move constantly. So this timer reset sees situational use, but is primarily useful for fakeouts, making certain normals safer on block, and to help with auto-timing certain block strings to make follow-up easier. The primary use case for the timer reset is to help with throw setups involving your errors. The laser. I'll now go over how to utilize each error starting with the laser. It's the most accessible and the versatile error as it comes after Bedman's most accessible special, which is the needle. Error essentially works like a secondary needle containing similar tracking properties and even the same damage, but the launch on air hit is far higher. The easiest way to use laser is just to alternate it from the needle with the use of the manual cash out. Needle, laser, needle, laser, needle, laser. This keep away pattern is obnoxious for characters without means of properly handling it, but they'll eventually navigate around this due to the limited tracking of the projectiles and by virtue of dash blocking. Some can even low profile it and some will be able to air dash onto you if they're within range. This is fine though, this pattern isn't a winning strategy by itself and it was never intended to be. Your goal is to get people to move in a way that you can eventually react to. If they air dash, it's an easy anti-air. If you anticipate anything coming, you end the pattern on the needle and wait for what they're doing while holding the error. If you can hold onto it long enough without getting hit, the auto fire of the laser can cover for you in many ways. Say I'm fighting against Soul Bad Guy, who has the threat of Grand Viper or Night Sex Vortex or whatever the fuck it's called in this game. I can cover 2 things if my error is about to come out. I can 2S to cover the low profiling move, but if I'm wrong, the laser can still fire at Soul's position and protect me from the beginnings of an air dash or his forward advancements like dash /. Holding laser is also very important as it's practically a block string or a couple extension depending on the situation. Let's present a second scenario. I do the needle laser pattern and this soul is annoyed beyond relief. He eventually commits to an air dash. I have my 5P ready. Now the regular confirm for 5P on hit is quite decent. 5P, /5K, malfunction for the hard knockdown. But if I have a laser, I can milk potentially juicier confirm with more damage, better corner carry, and the same knockdown. If your awareness on the timing of your errors is on point, you're going to be well rewarded. A lot of laser situations are going to be ad-libbed on fly, and it will come with experience. Building this awareness is one of the coolest things about playing Bedman, and if you end up doing something sick, then you know you're hot shit. Even a basic confirm is already great. Laser can enable a lot of different combo routes, even things like 2P, 2P, 2P into spin is mad impressive to do if you have the situational awareness to do so. Now, if you don't have the confidence for the confirms, don't worry, as the laser is just as useful for just covering for you, and you can simply use the laser to throw another needle, which in turn preps for another laser. Now, what if your timing is wrong and you end up doing a block string or a hit confirm and the laser is nowhere near ready yet to fire and you lack the means to stall for it to come out? Bedman's normals have a particular weakness of having very long recovery, so it's likely that the opponent can take their turn after they block your normals. At that point, the manual catch out of the laser is a great option to consider. You see, the manual catch out of the laser is a frame trap off of every normal. It's also quite plus. If you find yourself committed to something with an unsavory risk reward, like 2H, then the manual catch out laser can originally make that questionable situation and make it slightly in your favor. Now remember what I said about Bedman normals in the recovery. If you manual catch out with the laser, you have no more errors queued up, so anything afterwards is kind of a commitment. Another way to utilize laser with manual catch out is to do the manual catch out in the air. Air manual catch out is particularly nice because you can air dash afterwards. If your opponent blocks the laser on the ground and are within range, you could threaten an air dash normal. The block stun off the laser may throw off their ability to anti-air in time. Furthermore, their air-to-air attempts are also far slower if they block laser on the ground. You also don't have to commit at all and can just fake them out with an air dash down JS to potentially check their forward movement. Predicting how your opponent will move and react is crucial to playing Bedman, and the laser is good for obtaining that kind of information. The chain explosion. So the chain explosion comes after spin. Spin is your primary combo ender, so a lot of the applications of chain explosion generally revolve around the post knockdown setups and pressure. Spin is not often used in neutral due to its long recovery and fairly risky nature of this move, so chain explosion is often the least accessible error to have in stock for the general neutral game. However, a lot of Bedman's mid-screen options after spin tend to be fairly weak, so there may be opportunities to utilize chain explosion that doesn't involve a premeditated setup. Many times when you get a spin knockdown mid-screen, the opponent is far enough to where it's difficult to cover every option. The four main options tend to be wake up mash with 5 frame normals, wake up throw, wake up backdash, and wake up reversal. Note that not all characters have a proper meterless reversal, so your decision making on post-spin situations should be heavily matchup influenced. Now, chain explosion is weird to say the least. It covers a good area in front of Bedman and retains quite a bit of block stun, but the distance it carries the opponent on block and on hit is quite far, making follow-up on chain explosions somewhat tricky. Even error chaining off of chain explosion mid-screen is lackluster since it pushes them very far. If you find yourself getting too far from the opponent, you may just have to opt for needle or malfunction and reset back to neutral. Chain explosion also has some problems with manual catchouts having a larger gap than laser. Whereas 2H into laser is almost impossible to interrupt, 2H into chain explosion has a far larger gap to mash out on. The limited range on chain explosion also makes it awkward to play around if you decide to hold it and play neutral with it. You can pretty much treat chain explosion in neutral like a defensive laser. Whereas laser can miss due to its homing being unreliable at times, chain explosion just flat out lays a stream of hitboxes in front of you. Chain explosion is a lot stronger in the corner, and it is here where the high amount of block stun can easily allow you to chain into other errors or sneak in a mix-up. On hit, you can dash and catch their fall with 5k. If the 5k hits low, you go into spin. If the 5k hits high, malfunction is preferable. If the opponent gets hit by the chain explosion and you seem really late on the follow-up to where 5k won't work, frost spin is generally better than nothing. Chain explosion on block mid-screen is also kinda hard to follow up on to get anything meaningful in terms of a block string or a mix-up. Bomb. The bomb is the error that occurs after malfunction, which is Bedman's guard break punch attack. Bomb is perhaps the most specialized and difficult to use of all the errors. It is the slowest error on startup and has the most limited range. The strength of the bomb lies in its reward, both on hit and block. On hit, it has a massive launch and allows for a very easy and damaging combo. On block, it guard breaks the opponent and provides a lot of block stun, allowing you to go for a mix-up or to charge a level 2 malfunction, which primes another bomb error. Malfunction is a normal that you may often sneak in your pressure from various normals, so subsequently it's not too rare to have a bomb error in hand. But as said earlier, bomb is very awkward to use because the actual neutral pressure it applies ranges from limited to outright useless. The limited range of bomb makes it so that you have to get quite close to your opponent for it to properly connect. It's all too easy to end up taking a hit or a block before the bomb releases. If you can somehow move in on your opponent with the bomb ready to release, then your reward is very big. Sometimes when you're holding the bomb, you may just opt to hang back and wait for your opponent to go in. When the bomb is ready to release, you may find an opportunity to just commit with a forward movement, like forward jumping at them right before the bomb releases, and even if they attempt to anti-air you and you block it, the bomb will beat them. Similarly, running away with the bomb in hand can also deter them from going in, because if they make a really bold commitment, it's at their peril. Now, manual catch out with bomb is fairly terrible in block string pressure due to the large gap. It's very easy to mash out of. However, if you have your opponent cornered, doing a low air cash out is very strong. It's high enough to avoid most 5Ks, 2Ps, and 5Ps, and even if they attempt to jump out, they'll end up blocking it and being guard crushed and fly back to the corner. You can also attempt to manual cash out after far slash or 2S or 5H, and because of the distance, they may end up whipping your normal and the bomb still appears. When it comes to post knockdown setups with the bomb, you can essentially do anything. You can manually time the safe jump and time the bomb with a jump cancel for very ambiguous left-rights. You can also block string into the bomb and chain a level 2 malfunction. Now, if you want something very easy but effective, just use the manual cash out on the bomb as they're about to rise and dash block forward. If they reversal, you get a punish. If they block, you charge up a level 2 malfunction and still have it be a block string or a frame trap. Or you just raw 5D them. You could just wing it. Error chaining. So I mentioned briefly about error chaining, and if you still don't know what I mean by this, no worries. This is best explained by providing an example. So let's say I do this simple combo, close slash 2H spin. It's the bread and butter. I let the last hit of 2H pop them up before I spin so that the spin can hit them at a higher height, giving me more time to do a jump, air dash down forward with a JK. This is an auto time safe jump, by the way. Now remember that I have the chain explosion ready because I ended my prior combo with spin. The goal now is to stall this block string long enough to guarantee that the auto fire of the chain explosion. So I do the safe jump JK, close slash, and I go into 2H for some forward momentum. It's at this point where the chain explosion is about to fire. Once it's about to fire, it's guaranteed to come out. I quickly cancel my 2H within the first few hits into the needle. Notice the chain explosion still happens as I'm firing the needle. Now, needle is traditionally quite negative on block, but the chain explosion is a fairly active hitbox, and it makes my originally negative needle to be quite plus. Most importantly, because I did needle, I have a laser in stock now. I use the residual plus frames of the explosion to make up for the lost distance, and I block string into close slash, 2S, and 2H. I let the last hit of 2H rock, and I begin to charge up my malfunction. The string is originally quite easy to interrupt, but this is where the laser auto times. It auto fires after 2H and covers for my charge. I can land a level 2 malfunction for even more plus frames, which traps my opponent even further. Let's push this even further. Let's say my opponent blocks the level 2 malfunction. I'm like plus 11 off of this, so I can micro dash, do close slash, delay 2S, delay 2H, and let every hit of 2H rock. The reason I have to delay the string is because the bomb that I readied from the level 2 malfunction takes quite a bit of time to get out. I have to stall long enough for the auto fire to happen. If I do this properly, I can cancel the last hit of the 2H into needle right when the bomb drops and it all chains. From this guard break, I run up, close slash, 2S, 2H, and charge up level 2 malfunction again, and the cycle repeats. Error chaining is very important for Bedman, and he can retain some very powerful pressure loops as a result. However, those who are alert may realize that something is off about these strings though. If done perfectly, the opponent can't reliably mash out of it unless they have very fast normals or if they have reversals. But everyone has access to one option, and that is faultless defense. Now, if Bedman loses access to close slash, the string subsequently loses all of their timings, and you can't stall properly for them anymore. Remember what I said about Bedman's manual cash out off a bomb being very easy to interrupt? Bedman's manual cash out on the laser is strong, but it effectively signals the end of his turn because he has no more errors to work with unless he gets greedy with malfunctions. There's no clear-cut answer on how to handle FD. It's essentially the meter tax that your opponent pays to force your pressure to end. But here's the thing about FD. If they commit to it, they're committing to defense. This is where you have some alternative options. One is to make your strings less resistant to pushback. There are two tips I have for this. First is to safe jump with JK instead of JS, as JK has less pushback on block. Both normals can still chain into close slash even if the falling air normal is FD'd, but you eventually find that it's more consistent with JK. Second is to delay your ground strings enough to allow it for you to cancel to 2H before the final hit occurs. This is because when you cancel 2H before the final hit, you still retain forward momentum up to 2H on the special, which puts you a little bit closer. Another option to deal with FDs is to commit to throws or vary your block string. This is where learning some throw setups could be pretty powerful, and this is where utilizing his timer reset to vary it up can make those throws pretty scary. Even just committing to a throw with no error follow-ups can at least loop back into the same knockdown predicament. Perhaps the most practical option to react to FD on the fly is just to ad-lib your strings with stagger pressure. Your opponent paid the meter tax for an opportunity to get out, so you also have to make compromises with their pressure as a result. This essentially just means doing shit on the fly. If I notice my opponents are FDing, I begin to do weirder and potentially greedier string. Things like close slash, micro dash, close slash, or even weirder stuff like 5K into jump cancel JH and air dash canceling my JH. Also remember that if they FD malfunction, this is the distance where air manual cash out actually becomes quite threatening. It catches a lot of their swings, and also even traps their jump out attempt. If all hope seems to be lost with pressure, you simply just drop it and return back to neutral. When you stop your pressure, try to do so at a point where you still retain an error. With that error in stock, you can still hold the advantage in the situation, and when you actually get your next hit, you could turn that into a knockdown situation and bring it back into the original situation. Conclusion. The goal of this video was to explain errors, the benefits that each errors hold, and the general idea of using them, along with the idea of chaining errors within pressure. I didn't cover install because I already rewrote this damn script like 4 times, and install is another essay on its own. I also want to implant the idea of just ad-libbing your error situations on the fly, both in neutral and in pressure. Bedman is like jazz in a lot of ways. You're ad-libbing on the fly and making up a lot of things within certain kind of rules and constraints. Just like jazz, people who don't listen to it won't understand what the fuck you're doing, which is very similar in that people who don't play Bedman won't appreciate the sick things you're doing, but I know what you're doing if you actually do it, and I know that it's going to be really cool. With Bedman, there's a certain chaos that you have to make sense of, and oftentimes it's not always going to go your way, but that's also the fun part about this character. Ultimately, you want to turn your knockdowns in the corner into a situation where you can consistently chain guard breaks either through malfunctions or bombs, because this creates a possible loop situation. Think about Bedman's theme for a minute, when the singer screams this line. One interpretation is that the circle that which you must observe is actually just chaining errors into bomb and malfunctions over and over. Malfunction and bombs really add a lot of chip damage, and even if your opponent commits to spending meter for flawless defense, it drains a lot of their resource away. Anyways, that's pretty much it. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section, I'll do my best to answer. Anyways, thanks and take care.